Every logo and brand identity that you have ever seen is built from these five same ingredients, and that's line, shape, color, texture, and space. Once you master how these five core elements work, then suddenly designing something that feels balanced, intentional, and professional will become a lot easier. So in this video, we'll be covering these five elements and how you can implement each of these ones in your project and your brand for your business. So let's get into it. So the first one is line. Line lead the eye, and this is where everything starts. You want to use line intentionally and deliberately to make sure the line that you use is intentional and it divides the space and it sets the mood. So this is one of the most basic tools that you have. A single line can feel calm, tense, or energetic. So you need to use line and utilize it for the energy that you're trying to provoke and the energy you're trying to go for. And one of the things that you need to look out for is how you're using lines. Are you using round curves or straight lines, and how much line are you using in your drawing or your concept? You want to use a minimalistic approach as much as possible so it doesn't overcomplicate the shape and the design you're trying to go for. Because the simpler it is, the better it will be for the viewer to understand and see and remember your design in the first place. So start with the line, set the mood and the feel that you're trying to go for, and use it intentionally and deliberately for your brand. The next one is shape. Shape, like circle, square, triangle, each one carries a separate meaning. Combine simple shapes together and you can build anything. So you need to make sure that you understand what kind of mood you're going for in the first place and what brand this is for before you sit down and look at the shape that you're going to use. Because each shape has its own meaning and could be translated to a different meaning and what it comes across as. So understand the shapes. So if you want to have something more friendly, go with like a circle. If you want something with hierarchy, go with like a triangle. And if you want something a bit more serious, go with square. So these shapes all have different meanings and it's all translated differently. So understand the shapes first and then use them as a combination or one of them for your branding. The next one is color. Color sets the emotion and recognition faster than any other elements that we've discussed in this video. So you need to utilize color, but first, before you use color, first have a logo and the design first. Make sure it works in black and white before using and applying color. And depending on which color you go for, it provokes a different emotion. So like, for example, blue means trust. Red is seen as like more serious or danger. This is why some of the road signs are using red for the signs on the road, and also like emotions like love and those affection, those kind of things as well are red. So it could be used as seriousness and devotion and those kind of things. So depending on what kind of color and what kind of mood you're going for, choose the color deliberately for these purposes. And color can really bring out the brand, and you can actually own a color by using the same color, same tone over and over again over a period of time. So choose the color wisely once the design and everything else is done and the logo is working. Once you test everything about the logo and the designs and it's clean and it makes sense without adding color, then you can add color later on to stand out and make your brand more memorable. And once this is done right, over time, using color is one of the fastest ways to become recognized. And just seeing that tone of the brand that you're going to use will instantly click on the users and the audience's mind that this is you that's posting something, or as soon as they see that shade, they know it's you. So that's the power of color that it can have once you utilize it properly. The fourth one is texture. Texture can add personality to your brand. And I would also like to add texture and pattern. So once you utilize the color, the logo, the shape, and line, you can then use texture and also pattern. And using something repeated over and over again as a backdrop or even as part of your design can add character and personality to your brand and your design. So having rough or smooth makes your brand tangible, and having a repeated pattern can make your brand stick out because it shows that you've thought about this and you've utilized this to make something custom made for your brand, and kind of shows that feeling that you're trying to go for and what you stand for as a brand. So utilize these two things and it will stand out really quickly, and you'll have an edge over your competition once you utilize these correctly. So make sure you add texture and pattern for character and recognition. Number 5 is space. Space is extremely important because it emphasizes the actual shapes and everything else we've covered today that's in between. If you utilize space to your advantage, you're going to stand out. because a lot of people just overcrowd the information, put a lot of shapes and designs, elements in the logos and the brand, and then it's really hard to understand and it won't communicate properly. So make sure you utilize space to your advantage. And I would recommend, if you're going for a more luxury and minimalistic approach, that would work better for your brand because it gives a higher perceived value once you utilize these things. Like, for example, look at the Apple logo. They're really minimalistic and they let the brand speak for itself. Same thing with Nike, same thing with Adidas. They don't overcrowd the designs on their palette and the branding with just different shapes and different elements. They have a simple core design and visual feature, and then they let the brand breathe and they give the brand space to breathe. And this goes with, even when you enter their store, it's just minimalistic and they use space and everything is minimalistic for this reason, because it gives a higher perceived value and it builds trust. If something is overcluttered, you'll confuse the audience and you will lose that trust with them. So keep this in mind when you're designing and use space to your advantage. Empty space can speak just as loud, if not louder, as the visual elements that I've discussed today. And if you want a brand that just works, completely done for you, click the first link in the description below, and I'll be happy to book a 30-minute free consultation call with you to see if I can help you in any way that I can. Thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much.